Then you're hoping, someone please notice me so I can be hired as an assistant professor, not a professor. Then you hope that you're on a tenure track so you can get locked in. And then you become an associate professor. Then you become a full professor. And then you've supposedly made it at that point. Ding, 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 Einstein, Riemannian geometry in the whole field. Well, that was developed before, but he helped. Sure. He helped it. So string theorists will look at the other competitors to TOES, like loop quantum gravity, and they'll say, what have you produced? Come on, guys, let's be real. You say you have a quantum theory of gravity? Show me matter in your theory. You just have a quantized, and show me something interesting mathematically. And then they're just left there twiddling their thumbs saying like, no, we found something interesting with partially ordered sets. And you're like, get the F out.
Why do so many brilliant people subscribe to it? I mean, Brian Greene's the guy I'm trying to get on the podcast. You know, I'd love to be able to do that. He's right here at Columbia. But like he's an avid string theorist, and I love his talks and stuff. The guy's obviously brilliant, but he's one of many in this field who are so brilliant. So in the hypothetical world where string theory is completely wrong, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, like, let's say this whack-a-mole idea is actually really onto something, and like they have gotten this wrong. Why are so many smart people involved in it and holding to it religiously outside of just, well, we don't want to say we're wrong?
Now, I don't know, but plenty of it has to do with the publishing, the way that publishing works in the universities. In order to be hired, so firstly, you get hired you get your PhD. Here's how it works. You get your undergraduate degree. For 4 years or so, 5 years, you study for your 3 years sometimes. And then you get a master's degree, or you get a PhD. You can fast track and get a PhD. Now you're 27, you got a PhD. You want to get hired. Before, 60 years ago, you were much more readily hired. Now it's extremely competitive. So you have your PhD, then you become a postdoc. So you're basically working for free for 3 years at some different city. Not for free, but for relatively low pay.
Understood.
It's not contract. You're not told you're going to stay there for long. Then you're hoping, someone please notice me so I can be hired as an assistant professor, not a professor. Then you hope that you're on a tenure track so you can get locked in. And then you become an associate professor. Then you become a full professor. And then you've supposedly made it at that point. Okay. In order to progress up this ladder, you have to publish to the point where even to be hired, now some of the job requests, the resumes online, the ones that you fill out yourself, say the second question after your name is, how many citations do you have? How many citations do you have? That requires you to... It requires you to collaborate with people so you can put out material quickly.
Correct.
And by the way, people think the revolutions in physics come from hockey. We play together and we achieve our goal. But it could be more like, it seems to me like it's more like rock climbing, where it's a single person against the edifice, or maybe even chess, where it's you against some other theory.
So there is a financial and ambition-related incentivized component to the science community in a way such that when orders have been established, such as a string theory, you are literally disincentivized from writing anything that could question that, because you won't get the job and you won't rise up.
I would not say science in general. I'd say theoretical physics, and that's all I could say, because that's all I follow. And this is the case in string theory. And it's not that you can't question string theory. It's just, you don't even think about, how am I going to question string theory? You just contribute to the field.
Yeah.
You don't think about how am I... Well, if you were to say string theory is off its rocker, off on the wrong track, I very much doubt that you'll be on tenure track.
You know what? When I had Michu in here, one of the questions I asked him towards the end, to paraphrase it, was, you know, how would you feel about it being proven later that technically, like, all your life's work was wrong? Would you think that that's a horrible outcome, or would you think that that's a part of the very being of what science is? Great minds come along, come up with an idea that eventually, when more evidence is able to be produced to disprove it, such as nature,
Yes.
And that's how it goes on. And I don't want to say what he said because I'll get it wrong, but maybe we can cut it in here, Alessi. That spot, just ask me for that afterwards. I remember that. That was at like the 2-hour 40-minute timestamp, 2-hour 42-minute timestamp in that episode, something like that. You know, I just kind of wonder, like, when you look on your own life now, and having put in decades and decades and decades as a physicist, and you know, you came up with string theory now like 5 decades ago. It's a long time to put into the game. Do you ever worry about your work being wrong or proven wrong, or is that precisely why you want to put the work out so that it can be proven wrong?
Well, I think the latter more than the former, in the sense that to err is human. I mean, we will make mistakes. Technology moves in directions that are unforeseen. But once the basic laws are understood, then the predictions start to become more and more accurate.
So basically, what I took from it and how he answered it was that he was okay with that. He was more humble in the nature of that. And yet, you know, he is, as you pointed out, I mean, he's one of the founders of string theory. So he's a part of this community that maybe has unintentionally or even in some ways intentionally incentivized a system that protects that theory at all costs. So it's interesting because I wonder if that is just kind of like a passivity of humanity, right? You're brilliant at something, you come up with an idea, this is the way things are done, and you don't consciously realize that essentially maybe you're locking out other ideas that could be good, versus like saying, no, we got to be the mafia and stop this from happening, and making it more sinister, if you will.
Mm-hmm. So to be fair, Michio didn't, and he's not one of the inventors of string theory. I don't know why he keeps saying that. He invented something called string field theory.
Right.
Remember before I used the term non-perturbative, some fancy word? It just means exact solutions. You can think of it like that. So he came out with a theory that would have exact solutions, but it turns out there's some problems with it. Doesn't matter. So he had a collaborator. So he positions it, and he has something called the 1-inch long God equation, which is, again, for people who are interested, the theory of everything. What if you could write it down in a small space? And to me, I think wouldn't be the first time that an Asian person has elevated the stature of what's approximately 1 inch long. But so I see it less as a statement about physics and more a, what did you call it, a Freudian slip about the first syllable of his last name.
Whew, I didn't see that one coming. That was out of left field, man. Holy shit. Curt, I don't have a hell of a lot more time with you because I got to get you to your plane soon. So there's a million things in there I still want to ask you about, and there were a lot of other things there were a bunch of things today I still want to ask you about. We never got back to that whole point on what the context of an advanced society is, though. So real quick, I want to touch that, and then I want to close this off with a meaning of life question. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.